Hey everybody, I am Spegtacular, the Silver Stack. I'm here with Jeremy Corden, who is founder and CEO of the Goldback company. Jeremy, how's it going?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you doing this interview. I want to hit you with some hard questions that everybody asks, and just really drag you over the coals if I can with some of these questions that people in the community are wondering.
Yeah, I guess that's a way to start an interview. Let's do it.
Okay, first question. Okay, how much have you paid me to advertise, to show off Goldbacks on my YouTube, to talk to you on this interview? How much have you paid me?
I don't think I paid you anything.
Good, right? You haven't, and neither has your company, and nobody on the side either. Just so everybody's aware, okay? Because I get that one a lot. Next question.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk about a product, I figure you're bought off, right? Because yeah, I don't blame people for being cynical.
I enjoy Goldbacks. I enjoyed it a lot more to like a 10th time degree when they came out in Florida. So that's why I'm so big on it now because it's in my home state. You know what I mean? I'm 40, almost 42 years old. I've been in Florida all my life. I'm a Florida boy, and so I love that it came to Florida, and so I'm pumped up about it. And I do see the resource and the utility behind it, and that's why I'm just so big on it. But Jeremy, premiums, go premiums.
Okay, well, what about premiums?
Why would somebody buy Goldbacks as opposed to just buying gold? Because the premium is so high. They're not getting all the gold content in the bill as compared to like just gold bullion.
That's true. I mean, why would you ever buy a toothpick if it's cheaper to buy a two by four? I mean, isn't a two by four a better deal on wood? In fact, why would you ever buy a two by four when you could buy a log? And why would you ever buy a log if you could, buy woodland? You know what I mean? I mean, it's if you break something down and add value to it, it has a higher value. I mean, you could say the same thing about jewelry, or really you could say the same thing about any fractional. Why would anybody ever buy a 10th ounce American Gold Eagle if it's doesn't, sell for melt? You know what I mean?
Right.
But we're splitting an ounce of gold not into, a tenth of an ounce. We're splitting it down to a thousandth of an ounce. And now 1/2000th of an ounce. I can't do that for melt price. Nobody can. If they could, I mean, they could beat me, but there's real costs in it. I think there's this underlying assumption that we're charging double for gold and pocketing the other half and laughing our way to the bank because we're able to do it for melt and we can't. In fact, you go down to this small and these were manufactured for years at a loss. And, I still think that these are, I think the one might be break even now, but I know the half is manufactured at a loss.
Now, is the half manufactured at a loss also because you do a giveaway on those?
No, they're manufactured at a loss, meaning that our manufacturing company loses money on the halves. It was, difficult to convince them to even do it.
Okay. And that is the how do you say that? Aurum company?
Yeah, Valorem. Mhm.
Valorum. Okay. And is that going to be a company that you work with, throughout the entirety of this, or can you go out on your own, or is that like a necessity to be with them?
You know, there's a lot of anti-counterfeiting features in the Goldbacks themselves. That's something that's done at the manufacturing level. The new ones, you can shine a black light on the back and you can see, hidden images. We're rolling out new security features every year. And what that does is it adds a lot of value to the Goldback. Because not only are we splitting gold into 1,000 pieces that are easy to use, but they also have never been counterfeited. And that's kind of the other big problem that gold has.
Okay, that's a really good point. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask is about counterfeiting, because people, believe that China could counterfeit anything, and not to say that they one day couldn't do something similar, but as of right now, there's nothing out there like it.
Okay, well, imagine you're a Chinese counterfeiter and you want to counterfeit some gold. All right. You could spend $30,000 and you can start, coating tungsten with gold and putting those out on the market. And every time you successfully sell one of those, you get a $3,000 payday. That's option number one. Option number two is you can spend millions of dollars on a vacuum deposition machine to make something that remotely looked even kind of like a Goldback. And you can tinker with it for years and years and years, trying to get a counterfeit. As we roll out new anti-counterfeiting features moving forward, And if you can counterfeit a Goldback, a single Goldback's what, like $6? Is that your payday? I mean, what would you rather counterfeit? You know what I mean?
Right, whatever's easy.
Right. Yeah, it has a huge payday and is, low entry cost and, low startup time.
So
It's
now,
not impossible. I mean, nothing's impossible, but the barrier for counterfeiting Goldbacks is absolutely enormous. I wouldn't want to be a counterfeiter.
right, that's it's going to be extremely difficult. Um, okay, so Florida has been, I would, in my opinion, hugely successful for Goldback. Is that your most successful state so far?
Oh, easily. Oh, hands down. I mean, Florida, we really ramped it up. We rolled out three new denominations. We put a lot more resources in. I want to say that we put somewhere between 15 and 20 million dollars worth of resources into Florida, putting it together. It's our first big state. We knew it was going to be a really big deal, so we changed up our process for the artwork. We changed up, quite a few things just so we could have a better rollout.
Okay. I love Florida. I love the Florida Goldback. I think the artwork is phenomenal. The artwork by itself, is it AI?
No, no, everything's hand drawn. Now, I'd probably be lying if I didn't say that there weren't some reference photos that are AI, but you might use a dozen different reference photos for making a single bill.
So these are hand draw bills, not AI, but AI could have been used to influence the artwork itself.
I mean, it might be somewhere in the process, but I mean that's probably just about anything nowadays. If you look at, even like writing a book or whatever, I mean, at some point, AI might be used as part of that process somewhere, but it's real people doing the research. They're talking to people. Right now, we're doing Oklahoma. We've got 24 different people involved in providing feedback and input and what's valuable and what needs to be included and what shouldn't and how to do things. And there's a huge research process. Um, and then, we come up with all the symbolism that we want, stories that we want to tell. Um, all of this gets fed to the artist. So we have thumbnails that are sent to the artist, ideas. The artist will come back with, multiple things that, we could do. Um, but, you know, it's like if you go on Adobe and you're looking up a picture of a guitar for a reference photo, they might be AI. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And really what that does nowadays is you have to kind of double check and make sure you have the right amount of strings at, the knuckles in the right place, right? But it's a lot better than it was even a year ago. Um, so it's not like someone's sitting there and they're pushing a button and saying, okay, this is the Florida Goldback prompt. Let's just print that. That's not what it is.
Um, with the exchange rate, Jeremy, that's one of the benefits to the Goldbacks. I would imagine, in my opinion,
Sure.
having that exchange rate and seeing that your purchase is now, it has something beyond just gold value. It has something that's beyond just a collectible. It has the exchange rate. Who makes the exchange rate and how is it decided?
So the exchange rate is pretty close to the price of where we're creating the Goldback. And there's a little bit of arbitrage there. So if you use a credit card, a lot of people use credit cards because they get 1% back. Now it's terrible for the merchant because they have to pay, several percent. Um, and it's really getting everybody using cards instead of cash, which isn't great for privacy. But that arbitrage of that 1% you get to make it as an individual is really driving that. And what we do with the exchange rate is we build it up where it's maybe 2 or 3% higher than the minimum price you can get Goldbacks on a given day. And we've got thousands of businesses and, really, maybe like 20, 30% of business owners that are taking payment in gold or willing to take payment in gold. They're willing to accept it at the exchange rate at that 3% higher price, which means that you're getting a discount every time you're spending Goldbacks.
Gotcha. Um, okay. Florida, if I'm going into a store and I'm using Goldbacks at a store that accepts Goldbacks,
Mhm.
could I use a Utah Goldback or a Wyoming Goldback in that same store?
Yeah, if they take it. I've never heard of a story where they don't, but theoretically they could say, hey, I only want Floridas. I mean, that's kind of between you and the store owner. I mean, they might give you a discount for using Goldbacks. They might say, hey, you only bought three Goldbacks worth of stuff. I'm not going to make change for 100, right? Which, happens with cash too. Um, so, stores can kind of set their own policies in terms of, yeah, how they want to accept Goldbacks.
With the tipping culture, how do you recommend people tip if they're going to use Goldbacks as a tip?
You know what? If I'm going to give somebody a Goldback as a tip, I let them know that I'm going to give them 24 karat gold. And, I'll either let them know before or after, hey, you did a really great service for me. I really appreciate you. I'm going to give you something that you've never gotten before, probably. Has anyone ever given you 24 karat gold? And their eyes will get big. No, you have gold. And then you show them. Because if you don't tell them that you're giving them gold, a lot of people assume, or at least some people assume that you didn't give them gold because that's too good to be true. I've even had, one guy is a bus driver. I told him I was giving him 24 karat gold. He says, yeah, right. But most people really appreciate it. I'd say, yeah, 9 out of 10. It's an exciting thing. They're showing other people, big smiles. And then that 10th person is just, over there like, oh, what is, they don't trust it. They don't trust you. They think you're trying to like get out of something. And what I'll do is I'll actually take the gold back and say, hey, you know what? Never mind. I'm sorry. Why don't I give you some cash instead? And then they get really suspicious because they're like, wait, was this a trick? Should I have taken the gold? Like they don't want to screw it up. You know what I mean?
That makes sense. What is the most popular Goldback that exists right now?
In terms of volume, in terms of by weight, we sell more face value of Florida hundreds than any other goldback.
The Florida 100 is the most popular?
It's the most popular by weight.
Ah, okay, because it's so okay. I got you.
Because if you sell a single hundred, that's equal to selling 100 of the one. So if you're selling a hundred and then 80 of the one and 10 of the fives, if you own a whole set of Florida Goldbacks, most of the money you paid was for that hundred. You spent more on the hundred than all the other seven Goldbacks for Florida combined. There you go.
Okay. Hardly see it, but yes. Okay, now that makes sense. I was hoping you were going to say something cool like the five because I absolutely love the five, Jeremy.
So the five is actually outperforming by weight compared to how fives normally sell. Some dealers they sell about as many fives as hundreds by volume. So it's definitely overperforming.
I mean, I don't know if you can see what I got going
Yeah,
on.
no, it's great. You like the five? You think we should go that direction on more pieces?
It's just for me, being a Florida boy and having the history of piracy in Florida and the treasure and stuff. It hits home.
I'll tell you a story about the five that I haven't told anybody yet. So I actually moved to Florida. I moved to Jacksonville area. And my wife and I, before we knew we were going to do the Florida Goldback series, before it was like really nailed down, my wife was, and she ended up getting a job as the series planner, which is a separate story. But we were down in St. Augustine and we went to the Pirate Museum. And we just thought it was so cool. And, we ended up talking to them. And I guess pirate history is just absolutely huge in Florida. It's huge, huge, huge down here. And when we were coming together with the history for the state, we thought, we don't, I mean, how many other states have pirate history? Like you
Uh,
might get like a tiny bit in Georgia as in Savannah, and they've got, some pirate stuff, but like really it's Florida. Florida's the big pirate history state.
yeah, a lot of shipwrecks here, as because Spain like used it as a hub. Here.
Right.
Uh,
It's part of the Caribbean.
yeah,
And it was Spain for hundreds of years
right.
before it was ever part of the US.
Exactly. Speaking of this wonderful shirt that I had custom made on my own, are you guys going to put out any merchandise like that?
Yeah, we want to put out swag. We want to put out some more things. We haven't done a whole lot yet, but it's coming. We're working on it.
And that will be available for the distributors or through your website?
I don't know yet. Probably through the distributors, just because Goldback itself is more of a wholesaler. It's not impossible we'll offer it on the website, though. I don't think we figured that out yet.
So this is the tough question right here, Jeremy. You have your distributors, Okay. And then you have your, let's say, your secondary areas where people are selling goldbacks. And a lot of times people have to pay a higher price on those secondary areas because those people selling have some tremendous fees. Any thought to that at all when people are getting goldbacks for well over what they could be getting them for, and then having to worry about, basically getting hit on a higher number when it comes to the exchange rate?
So here's the thing. If you've never seen a Goldback before, ever, and somebody pulls out a Goldback and you see it for the very first time, the value perception is a lot higher than $6. So if you have a half Goldback and it has a value perception in excess of $10 and someone says, "Hey, I want that." Brand new person, never heard of Goldbacks, they're probably going to pay $10. And there's plenty of people that would love to sell a $3 product for 10 bucks. Why wouldn't they? And there's a lot of products out there that are like that, that have those kinds of margins. That person that buys that half Goldback, they go home, they show all their buddies. And my experience with the Goldback is it tends to kind of suck you in over time. You see them, you think, oh, that's neat, that's kind of cool. And you think about it longer, like, well, wait a minute, like that would solve a lot of problems. And you start looking it up and it pulls you in because the implications behind the Goldback are just absolutely enormous. Um, you're not paying $10 for that second half Goldback. You're going to find better prices. You're going to find online dealers. You're going to figure out where to buy these things. Uh, yeah, you'll pay $10 for the first one. I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing in the world, right? Because it creates an economic incentive for people to, really push Goldbacks out to new markets. And you have a willing buyer, willing seller. And really, if I didn't like it, I couldn't really control it because once people buy Goldbacks, I mean, they could buy them from you, or some other dealer, and then they could just, they could go out. I've heard stories of people that were buying Goldbacks going to Pakistan, and you know how much they're selling for in Pakistan, the Goldback?
Only imagine.
$100.
Oh, okay, for a single. Wow.
$100 for a thousandth of an ounce, and people can see that as a thousandth of an ounce. They're still paying $100 because they think they're so cool.
That makes sense. I hear they're very popular in Europe. A lot of people in Europe, European countries, are trying to get them because they don't have anything similar over there.
No. And Goldbacks are starting to enter these other markets. I honestly, I think they're pretty cheap for what they are. I mean, Americans, comparative to the rest of the world, we've had more stable currency. You look at like the gold ATMs, and their number one buyer is Venezuelans in America. And why do you think that is?
I don't know.
Because they've lived through inflation, and they've lived through really bad inflation.
Oh, there you go. That's
And
right.
inflation-proof currency, they get it. They're like, oh my gosh, the gold is the money. Like we should all just do this, you know? Um, so I think Goldbacks will end up being more popular outside of the country than in it.
That makes total sense. Um, this question I get a lot because a lot of people, when they buy, they want to buy like a set, okay, of the Goldbacks. They don't want to stack them. They believe it's a novelty. For the people that say it's a novelty, what would you respond there?
Well, it's outperformed gold, since Goldbacks have come out. I used to say that. I used to say, hey, you can have some Goldbacks instead of cash because Goldback is better than cash. If you have cash that has no floor, it's quickly inflating away, and you can have some Goldbacks, but really you want to have a lot of gold coins in your stack because the Goldback might not appreciate as fast as gold, right? Because of that premium. That's how I thought about it, having invented it 5 years ago. And what I saw, based off what the market has done, is Goldbacks, to my surprise, have outperformed gold bullion and gold coins. And the demand for Goldbacks is absolutely enormous. I think that the Goldback in a lot of ways is actually cheap for what it is. The fact that we're producing the half at a loss and that we're breaking even on the one, um, that's a pretty good indicator that there's a lot of value there. It's not like there's other products that you could show me that are 1/1000th of an ounce that are a better deal than Goldback. Yeah, if you think I'm ripping people off, like go cheaper, try it. Try to make a better product for cheaper. The fact that nobody else in the market has should be indicative that it's a pretty good deal. And that 100 you showed me, you can swap those out for 100 of the ones or 200 of the halves. It's all interchangeable. And if you can swap out 100 for 200 of a product that we lose money on, how are you losing exactly?
That's a good point. Okay, so Oklahoma, Arizona, those are the two newer states that will be coming out eventually, right?
They're coming out next, yes.
Next.
Oklahoma and Arizona, and probably in that order. Oklahoma, then Arizona.
I don't know if you can talk about this, but a lot of people had that rumor, and I don't know how the rumor started, but that rumor of Texas was going to be the next state. What happened there?
So we were going to do Texas instead of Florida. And I think that some people had heard about it. Some insiders heard that we were going to do Texas, and we actually had artwork finished for the state of Texas. It's in the style of kind of it's kind of an in-between style between Florida and the older states. It's only 5 pieces. You're never going to see this artwork because we're going to redo it before Texas comes out. Like we can't use that now. Um, but we were going to do Texas, and what ended up happening is the state bullion depository in Texas, they want to do like some commemorative product with grams using the same technology. And we just didn't want to get our two products mixed up. We didn't want to confuse the market. It wasn't good for me. It wasn't good for them. Texas was also unmanageable in a lot of ways. We actually had a regional manager in Texas. The state's just really big geographically. We would have needed probably several people. We didn't quite have the resources to do it well. So Florida, cutting it down to where you have a fourth the geography and you've got two-thirds the population, it was still a huge stretch for us, but it was a lot more manageable than Texas.
Okay. So at least
That's
not yet.
probably why. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say at least not yet. We can't do it.
Not yet. And like I said, they still haven't done their other project in Texas. I imagine they're going to do it this year. I know they're behind. So people are probably hearing rumors about their project and thinking it's Goldback, and that might be part of the rumors, or they might have heard a rumor from earlier that was based off a true story that we were going to do Texas, and we pivoted to Florida just so we didn't have market confusion.
I'm personally hoping for Tennessee soon, but let's keep it out there. Let's keep the edge.
Tennessee is very high up on the list of states of interest. What we're finding is that if people don't have a Goldback in their own state, they want to use the Goldback from the nearest state, right? Because if you live in Georgia, what kind of Goldback are you going to use? Are you going to use Florida or are you going to use Nevada? You know what I mean? If you live in the state of New York, what Goldback are you going to use? It's probably New Hampshire, right? Um, how many states does Tennessee border?
Right.
Like a third of them, like it's a lot. It's a lot. And Tennessee has like a really rich and great history too, and a lot of very pro sound money laws. So it's interesting that you say that. Yeah, Tennessee is definitely a state of interest.
Yeah, I was hoping for Tennessee, but I think the plan is, Jeremy, and don't let me put words in your mouth, is to extend this throughout the United States as a whole, right? I mean, that's the idea.
Well, this year we're looking at 3 states. I don't know if we can get them all out this year or not. We haven't announced dates, so I want to be careful with that. We've announced 3 states. So if we do Florida, Arizona, Oklahoma, I think next year we could do more. I think that we could either do 3 or 4 states. We might even do an international project next year. Um, I I think that we're only going to speed up if we end up getting up to, 5 or 6 states a year. We're going to be everywhere faster than anybody realizes.
That's amazing. And international right there. He said it. I don't know if you heard that part. International. That's
We'll
interesting.
see. We'll see if it happens or not. It's probably too early to even talk about.
Like the song goes, we got high hopes, right?
High hopes.
Um, I've heard rumors that there's Florida legislature, that could possibly get the Florida Goldbacks as legal tender. Is that just rumor?
It looks like the state of Florida might recognize Goldbacks as legal tender. The state of Idaho has already done it. So
Oh,
Idaho has recognized Goldbacks as legal tender. We're seeing more and more friendly legislation coming out outside of states. And what that looks like is states saying gold and silver are legal tender, and the gold that we see as legal tender is this broad, and that encompasses also the Goldback. And then there's further steps because then you might do a bill down the road that says, hey, we'll accept gold as payment and taxes. But, all states are indicating that this is voluntary legal tender. Nobody's forced to accept gold as payment. Um, but conferring that status on the Goldback and gold in general, it's a big deal.
This I've noticed this so many times. People give out this incorrect information on what an alpha is. Can you clarify what the alpha is on the notes, and also when will the alpha in Florida be completed?
So the alpha in Florida has already been completed. We're not printing any more Florida alphas. It's over. Now the non-alphas aren't on the market yet. They probably won't be for a while. We front loaded the Florida Goldback quite a bit. So I don't think you're going to see non-alphas until maybe May or June. It kind of depends how fast we sell through alphas. Um, but what the alpha is it's a first, they're Goldbacks that were printed before the release of a given state. So we were printing Florida alphas before January 15th or January 20th. Um, for the most part, I mean, there were like a few miscellaneous things that we'd already ordered before that date that are still in production. Those ones are finished now, and now non-alphas are being produced. So it's a subsection of first year Goldbacks. Now, if we do Oklahoma toward the end of the year or Arizona toward the end of the year, alphas might be the only thing that's produced for 2025, for example. There might not be non-alpha 2025 Arizonas because there's just not enough time. But it is, kind of like a first edition mark.
And we see that little A or that alpha
The
symbol
little A. Yep.
left of the date,
Right.
and it has nothing to do with the serial number.
Nothing to do with the serial number. And for Florida, I mean, I wanted to go a different direction with some of the colors on the Goldback, and people in the community just weren't having it. We've been so consistent with the 5 series so far, and the green is always a 1. And I thought it would just be cool to have it be flamingo pink on the Florida. And apparently only I thought it was a cool idea.
People bought
And the
it.
people I was able to strong arm on the team. So we are reverting on the non-alpha to a green Florida 1. So the pink ones it'll be very clear that it's an alpha.
So we're going back to the color scheme of
We're
before.
going we're going back to the color scheme. We have to add a few new colors because there's a few new denominations. And I think one of the colors or a couple of the colors are ones that you haven't seen yet. So the non-alpha ones will be really pretty too.
Very cool. Okay, so Oklahoma, Arizona coming out at some point next. You had new Goldbacks. With Florida, you had the half, the 2, the 100. Are those going to continue, the half, the 2, and the 100 on the new series? And what about the old series with like Utah, et cetera, et cetera?
That's a great question. Yes, we are going to continue with the new series. I already mentioned to you the 100's the most popular by weight. Yeah, people really like it. I don't know how many people are carrying them around in their wallets, but high value bills was a huge part of American culture for hundreds of years. We used to have $500 bills up until not that long ago. And the $100 bill, even 25 years ago, is worth what a 100 Goldback is today. So I don't think it's too much value to have as part of an interchangeable system. I think the 100 makes sense and they're so fun. I'd hate to discontinue it. I don't really see any reason to. The half, um, if we didn't have the half, the smallest Goldback would be over $6 now. So I think the half is really important. I want to get to a quarter eventually. I think that's as small as we're ever going to go. Um, yeah, I can't commit to the future forever, but I think that I'd like to get to a quarter Goldback. In fact, we're doing artwork for quarter Goldbacks, just so it's ready to go. Um, as far as the old states go, I don't want to leave New Hampshire and Utah and Nevada and Wyoming and South Dakota without the new denominations. When we initially launched Utah, what we had said in 2019, at least internally, is that we'll probably have designs for a series out for 7 to 10 years before we do a refresher. Um, we're kind of hitting that point with Utah. It is 2019, so Utah's due for a refresh anyway. Um, we'll probably do a refresh for Utah art when we launch the new denominations so they don't look mismatched. So that'll make old Utahs, old Nevadas more collectible over time, especially the higher denominations, because we don't print as many 50s. I think that there's going to be a lot of collector value to old designs in 5 or 10 years from now. Um, but we are looking at redoing Utah, and we might even end up doing that next year. So it could be pretty soon.
If you redo Utah, and let's say you do put the halves and you start doing halves in Utah, will those halves and those redone pieces be an alpha?
That's a good question. What do you think? Should we do them as an alpha?
I think it's something new, so I think you almost have to. But I don't know. I don't know. Is that going to lose the collectability of the 2000 or the 2019 notes? I don't know.
I don't know if they would be alphas because we did alphas for Wyoming and we did alphas for South Dakota. And at the time, we just like the release of them was so botched, it was so bad that like a lot of them didn't get out into the market. It wasn't done the right way. Um, and there weren't that many of South Dakota and Wyoming, but we didn't ever do an alpha series for Utah or Nevada or New Hampshire. I don't know if we've decided, and I haven't even really thought about whether or not we would relaunch Utah with an alpha or not. So, what do you think? I mean, maybe people should comment on this video, or we should run a poll or something.
Let's leave it to the people. How about that? In the
Okay,
if you guys watch this long, right, you're really interested in Goldbacks, first of all. But go ahead and leave a comment down below and let Jeremy know if the company should, consider making the old states back in that are going to come out the new denominations, make them an alpha or not. Let them know in the comments.
great. Yeah, we'll have those in the comments, and I'll also the people. Oh, you're scamming people with your premiums. I can't believe it. I'll buy Goldbacks if you can sell them for melt.
Well,
Why don't you just use dollars instead?
unfortunately, Jeremy, in the world we live in today, we want fast-paced information. And if it's not to people within 10 seconds, they'll just leave a comment below as if they watched the video, but they never did. But I'm trying to get all the questions that people would ask and have asked me many times out to you right now. And hopefully the people that are actually a little bit curious will listen to this video. And I think another great resource is actually going to Goldback's website and learning from there rather than just hearing it from other people who are just spreading around a lot of misinformation.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, we get beat up on premiums, and I think, okay, well, maybe someday we could get the premium to 90%. But, there's two problems with that. The first is if we ever move the premium from about 100% to 90, you've heard everybody that's already bought Goldbacks. I mean, we've obliterated our margins where, like now it's like we're struggling to, figure out how to stay in business. But the other thing is I don't think that there's a lot of buyers that would love to buy at 90% that wouldn't buy at 100. Because the people that don't like Goldbacks and say they have a high premium and they're ripping people off, I think if we had a 10% premium on the Goldback, that those same people would still be ripping on us. And they'd say, "Oh, well, you don't know the gold's really in there." And you know what I mean? It's like they don't want to like it. Um, I think a lot of these comments are actually in bad faith. And if we, I've dug around on some of the people that make comments and they'll repeatedly make that comment throughout the internet over years. And they work for companies that don't sell Goldbacks, that are threatened by it. Um, they work for a competing company. Or maybe they are an organic user and they're just kind of repeating, these talking points that are put out by people that don't want to like the Goldback. So it's just an easy rock to throw if you don't really understand the principle of adding value to a material, and that's why it has a higher cost. Or if you've just been taught that premiums should be melt on gold, and that's the only way to really buy gold, and you've been taught that for decades, then yeah, I mean it's 100% premium. I suppose if the Goldback collapsed and nobody ever wanted to use a Goldback again, you know, yeah, people could melt them down and the floor on the Goldback becomes 50%. But, I was talking to Peter Schiff about this, and Peter Schiff said, well, that's a way better deal than the dollar. What's the floor on the dollar?
Non-existent.
It's non-existent. So, it's like, what do you want to use? What's the floor on Bitcoin?
We're going to find out, I think.
Yeah, we'll find out, maybe. I hope not, but maybe.
Okay, so you've been really good about acknowledging that there are some problems with the Goldbacks, and you've been really good about correcting them when they come up, delamination, the stickiness, et cetera, et cetera. What are some of those problems, and how have they been fixed? And kind of like, what is your methodology when it comes to identifying and fixing those problems?
You know, when your product has problems, people will talk about them. For like the DLAM issue, it used to be a lot worse, and we just warranty everything. And we still do. You know, if you ever get a delaminating gold back, if you have a gold back that is just worn out, we'll replace it, and we'll replace it for free. It's built into the cost. There's not enough people that take us up on it, or it's a huge problem. Um, and I think that's something that'll become a bigger cost for us over time as people circulate goldbacks more. But that's part of what you're getting when you're paying that 100% premium, right? I mean, you're getting a product, but you're also getting a system with it. Yeah, it's an interchangeable system, but also one that's warranted. And it has high liquidity. So if you're paying double spot for a goldback, it's not like you're spending it at half the value, or you're liquid, or you're going back into cash at half the value. There's a strong, strong aftermarket for goldbacks. Um, if you go on eBay, you'll find that most people actually sell goldbacks for above the exchange rate uh, on goldback.com. So, enormous market demand for these guys. Um, but in terms of making the product better, the sticky issue, that's something that we're working on right now. What happens is when the goldbacks are made is they carry an electrical charge that makes them stick to each other, and we're finding ways to remove that electrical charge to make them a lot smoother and easier to count and less likely to stick together. Yeah, it costs money to do that, but we're continually trying to make the goldback a better product. Whether that's improved security features, improved durability, you know, um, making it so they don't delam as often. Um, we're always looking at ways to make it better.
No, thank you for that, because it's nice to hear that the problems are acknowledged and that you guys are working on them. And I've seen already that things they're being worked on. It's getting better and better. To the question on the wallets, Jeremy, is it real leather? Is it genuine leather?
Yeah, they're made out of real leather. We have some nicer wallets coming out. Um, we did those wallets before we had them ready right when Goldbacks came out in 2019, just about, because I realized almost immediately that we didn't want Goldbacks to be in billfolds. And there were people that were super excited about, carrying these around and, spending these and using these. So I've been using a Goldback wallet for 6 years. I think there's some improvements that we can do, that we're definitely working on. So we'll have one that's designed more to fit the hundreds a little bit better, and the 50s and high denomination bills. We have another wallet that's coming out. If it hasn't come out already, it's going to soon, and it's more designed for goldbacks that are like a five denomination or smaller. That's kind of more of like the ultra small wallets that are popular right now.
Very good. I enjoy the wallet. I think it's neat. I get that question a lot, whether it's faux leather or not.
No, it's not faux leather.
Okay, silverbacks. Are you guys silverbacks as well?
Yeah, I mean we make silverbacks.
And is that a novelty? Is there utility there, or what's your opinion there?
It's a collectible. It's a collectible in the sense that it's got 3 cents worth of silver in it, and there's a limited amount of silver backs out there. So we numbered the first series that we did from 1 to 100,000. We're thinking that we want to do silver backs again, just because they're popular and people keep asking for them. Um, I think that we could do a little bit better next time. But silverbacks now, it's like we did the first 1,000 as purple silverbacks. Do you know what those are going for on eBay?
A lot.
I think I saw them for like $1,000, and we're selling them for like 100. So, Goldbacks is a collectible, Silverbacks is collectibles. We do have some Goldback collectibles, and some Goldbacks end up becoming collectible. As the program grows, as more people get involved with Goldback, as we're finding that more and more people want to collect them. And it's like we made, for example, I want to say there's between like 6 and 8,000 of the Alpha hundreds for Florida, which cash value, it's a lot, but it's just not a lot of pieces. And then we did 8,000 of the limited early release for Florida. And yeah, those are selling for a few $100s a piece. And I think, at some point, I think they could be a lot more than that because if you've got 10 times as many users for Goldbacks in 5 years, or 20 times or 30 times, the amount of collectibles that are coming out now are really low. So, um, yes, use Goldbacks, carry them around, spend them, introduce them to more people. By all means, please do that. But I think you'd be cheating yourself if you didn't buy a few as collectibles, because I think that's where the bigger appreciation is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely going to collect, and I have my own set right over there of the Alpha series of the Florida, and several series of the other states as well. But I do believe that they're cool as a collectible just to look at, and then I do see the utility in behind them as well. Um, this is going to be a tough question here with the distributors.
Mhm.
Okay, their margins are very, very slim. Is there any thought about trying to help out the distributors in the future with their margins, or are you happy with their margins?
So we did beef those up in 2025. We introduced tier pricing, so if distributors are moving more volume, they can get better margins. And we do build in map pricing for distributors, so we're not racing to the bottom. Usually in precious metals, if you're selling bullion, if you're selling a gold coin, gold bar, it's like this giant competition to figure out who can sell it for less. Oh, you can sell it with a 3% margin, well, we can do it with a 2% margin. Oh, you can do 2%, we'll do 1.5. You can do one, I can do 1.5, I can do one. And then you have, what's happened with this race at the bottom is we've lost. I know at least in Utah, I don't live there anymore, but we lost half of our coin stores over the last 15 years because local dealers just couldn't compete with online prices. It's really squeezing the industry, racing to the bottom on premiums. So what we do with Goldbacks is we actually institute map pricing. We say, no, you have to make at least X amount of money on a Goldback because we don't want to have just two or three distributors racing to the bottom on it. If that's what we wanted to do, we wouldn't be a wholesaler. We just go direct to customers. But that's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to have this be a boon to everybody in the precious metal space. So, it's like as a dealer, you can make 2% selling gold bullion, but you can make, several times that selling gold backs. So it's a better deal for coin shops for sure.
That's great. Um, it's very confusing to me, and I think a lot of people too. Both the Goldback lease program and getting a Goldback started in a state. Can you explain that at all?
So to do a new gold back in a state is expensive. I mentioned that we put, 15 to 20 million dollars into Florida. That was just so I had gold backs available to sell when we launched Florida. So and in the first month, I think we sold close to $6 million worth of Florida gold backs. So just, you have to have them available. But where do you come up with 15 to 20 million dollars? I mean, certainly it's not profits. I mean, Goldback is not anywhere near as profitable as anybody thinks. I mean, yeah, I make less money than my dentist does doing this. Like,
Yikes.
it is not a super lucrative venture. People think it is. It's not. It's like, I wish. Not, I mean, not really. We wanted it to be, affordable, right? We're not trying to, scalp people. Um, but to get 15, 20 million dollars to do Florida, what we did is we leased it from folks. So we'd approach them and say, hey, if you have gold, instead of paying vaulting fees on that, why don't you buy some gold backs? We'll borrow them from you. We'll pay you leasing fees and we'll cycle those. And it's like an inventory loan. It'd be like if you had a car rental company and I approached you and said, hey, why don't you buy 20 cars? I will lease them from you and then I will rent them to people who pay me by the day and I'll pay you by the month. You know what I mean? Like the car rental company doesn't own any of those cars.
Okay.
So it's that's kind of the model. We had a state sponsorship program where people could come in and they could say, "Hey, I've got $1 million, let's do Alaska," or "Hey, I got $1 million, let's do Montana." And we're restructuring that right now because I don't think we were collecting enough to really do it. If we're to do Alaska, I'd probably need to print $5 million worth of product for Alaska, not 1 million. But we're saying that, hey, for 1 million or half a million, you could just sponsor Alaska, and then we just had to do it at some point. And really, we have to be strategic with the states that we launch. Some states have much better laws, are much more friendly to goldbacks than others. There's already a strong following. Other states, there's not. And, some states have sales tax on gold. I mean, they're a lot more hostile, or their laws are to a gold back. So we have to be careful where we do this and where we don't.
Not to get political, but is it kind of like a red versus blue state when it comes to the difficulty of getting these in those states?
You would think so, but a lot of the most friendly laws for local currencies are in blue states.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, I mean, just about every successful or big local currency project in American history has been a blue state project, not a red state project. Like the Ithaca Hour, that was in New York. The Berkshire Share, that was in Massachusetts. I think one of the biggest user communities that we have per capita is in New Hampshire, which isn't really a red state. It's not a blue state either, but I mean, it votes consistently blue. Um, and I think that's because left-leaning people, they've proven that they really like local currencies. It's the shop local, Occupy Wall Street, screw Walmart crowd. They don't want to spend goldbacks at Walmart. They want to support the local business. That's usually been more associated with the political left. And what I would like to get out is, more blue state goldbacks because they do have friendly laws, and some of those states don't even have sales taxes on gold. If you look at, states like Delaware or Oregon, they've got very friendly laws to local currencies and to precious metals in general. So it's not a red versus blue thing. I think that gold is more associated with like a red state thing. There's more kind of conservatives buying gold. A lot of gold companies more market to kind of more conservative audiences. You'll see a lot of conservative influencers promoting gold companies. And Goldback is kind of interesting that way because in some ways it's almost like a gold, more like a gold adjacent product in that it's so different than regular gold bullion with it being hyperfractional, interchangeable, and currency like. It's a little different than the gold bar. It's not quite the same. Um, and it's actually a lot of there's a really big mix of people buying Goldbacks. It's not what you would think. There's a lot of people in the political left that really like the gold back and are really jumping on the local currency aspect of it. So my hope is to not politicize the gold back. I think money's for everybody. Um, and I certainly don't want people to feel like this is like a red state project only.
Okay. I just had that brought up one time. And
Sure.
this question I get a lot, and it's more of just, people pointing the question at me rather than just being just a simple, asking the question. But can you see this guy right here? Maybe you
Yeah,
can.
I'm familiar.
Why is Goldbacks different from the Norfeds?
Okay. When we started Goldback, I spent the time and I read it was about a 50-page case that the FBI had against Bernard von Nauthaus. Because if you start a project like Goldback, I don't want to end up like Bernard von Nauthaus. You know what I mean? I don't want to go under house arrest. I don't want, I'm not doing this to get thrown in jail to make a point. I'm not looking for a hill to die on. And honestly, I was pretty nervous about it. So were the co-founders. I mean, we were really nervous about starting Goldback because, looking what happened to the Liberty Dollar, we didn't want to suffer a similar fate or really do that to anybody that was buying Goldbacks. Um, so in reading this case against Norfed, I boiled it down to about 13 different bullet points of complaints that the feds had against the Liberty Dollar. And then I was careful not to do any of those 13 things.
Very good.
Right? It's like, hey, this clearly failed for you. I mean, you wandered into the dark forest first and died, like what are all the things that got you? Um, and as I studied the case more and more, I got to really understand it. A big part of their case against the Liberty Dollar, here, show the coin again on the
Wait,
back.
you want the back of it? Here you go.
Yeah. What does that say on it?
Dollar?
$20? Is it a dollar though?
No,
Okay. Do you think that might be a problem?
absolutely.
Okay. Because here's what happens. I mean, and not to rip on this guy, I know he has dementia now. But he would go, there's a video of him on the Learning Channel, and he goes up to these girls at like a kiosk, that sells sandwiches, and he says, "Hey, this is the new silver dollar." and he buys sandwiches with these. And the girls, like, they've never seen it before. They don't know what silver is. They don't understand precious metals. Those girls went to the bank at the end of the day with that $20 piece and they tried to deposit at the bank, and the bank told them that they didn't have $20. They had a $20 silver design piece. And how do you think they felt? How do you think their bosses or their managers or the owners felt? You know what I mean?
Those young girls got in trouble, and they're
They
basically,
got in trouble. And by the way, when they did that $20 silver piece, silver was $8.
oops.
Oops. So as an MLM, huge profit margins because the round should have been $10 or $11, but they were selling it for 20 and they were spending it as $20. So there's a huge cash incentives to pass these off as dollars, which they're not. And Bernard von Nothaus's thing is, well, you don't have a monopoly on dollar. Anyone can make dollars. It's like, that's the battle he chose to fight. That's not the battle I chose to fight. I didn't want anybody to confuse a goldback with a dollar. And part of that is the goldback is just worth a lot more than a dollar. We didn't want them to have federal images. We don't say in God we trust. We didn't want them to be horizontally oriented. Um, we didn't put dead presidents on them. Um, I didn't want the dumbest person to think that a goldback was a dollar or for anybody to have an incentive to push a goldback off as a dollar. If you're spending goldbacks on sandwiches, it's because the business owner somewhere knows that they're accepting precious metals instead of dollars. This is a precious metals purchase. And I think that's the right way to go about it. Um, so that's why we do it that way. Um, and so far, we've been okay. We've passed legal muster, and the goldback is a lot bigger than Liberty Dollar ever was. In fact, the goldback is the biggest, most successful local currency project in American history.
Oh, nice. Good for you guys.
So yeah, we have almost $250 million worth of goldbacks out there.
Oh, congratulations. That's huge.
It's pretty big. It's gotten really big, and I think this is still early days. I think this is still ground floor. I think this is still, I mean, this is Bitcoin in 2014. It's still early for the goldback.
Well, I don't work for you guys at all, but I use that a lot. I tell people all the time. I said, this is like the early stages. I said, this is the beginning. So yes, if you believe it's a collectible right now, wait until more
Just
states.
wait. Just wait.
Yeah,
I mean, wait until we do a new state and we have to make 20,000 limited early releases to meet market demand. And the old states had, 8,000 or 4,000. And somebody wants a 50-piece set of all the limited early releases for all the states. Just wait. See what happens to the value. No, it's a huge boon for people that are in early to get collectibles. We'll never get there if people don't circulate the goldbacks that they have now. It's like the Alpha Goldback, like Alpha Florida. I'm gonna throw a bucket of cold water on this for a second. It's not impossible that non-alphas from 2025 in Florida will end up being more collectible or more rare than Florida alphas of the same year.
that's a good point.
Don't hang on to your alphas so tight that you're not circulating those, or we'll never get to the point where enough people have. And I brought this up to my executive assistant the other day. I said, if you could go back in time to 2013, how many Bitcoins would you buy?
all.
All of them. Okay, great. If you went back in time to 2013 and bought all the Bitcoins, how do you think that would impact the price of Bitcoin today?
Sure, it wouldn't go anywhere.
It wouldn't go anywhere. If that 10,000 Bitcoin pizza was never purchased, if there weren't thousands of people trying aggressively to get Bitcoin into the hands as many, there are websites where they're giving away Bitcoin because it's the network effect. You have to get that network effect by getting a lot of people to see it, a lot of people to understand it. If you're holding on to it really tight for appreciation, you're never going to get the appreciation because you robbed yourself of getting that network effect. If you want Goldback, if you want your Goldback collectibles to be worth a lot later, you should get the Goldbacks into the hands of as many people as you can see. The small denominations, the Florida Alpha one, that's not going to be your big expensive collectible down the road. If you want the big expensive collectible, buy the limited early release or get 100. That's your beachfront property. Get the 50s old designs for Utah or Nevada or New Hampshire. Get those if you want to have like a bunch of collectibles that'll go up 10x, 20x, 30x. Like get those ones. Um, circulate the ones, circulate the smaller denominations, get them out into a lot of hands. It'll generate more collectors over time if that's your game.
Smart, very smart. We talked about these businesses that take goldbacks. If a business wants to start accepting goldbacks, what should they do, Jeremy?
They can go on goldback.com. They can put in their business right there. They could actually do that anywhere in the country right now. Um, we'll put them on a pin map at some point, and we'll send them a resource kit that includes, Goldback acceptance stickers and steps and information. So that's how you would do it. In fact, if you have a business in Florida and you want to sign up your business in Florida and you're watching this and you haven't done it yet, you can do that online, but make sure to give credit to Spegtacular. And if you're in Florida, I will give you a limited early release for Florida. There's only 8,000 of them for every Florida business that signs up. So you get one if you're the business, but Spectacular gets one too for referring you.
I'd appreciate that, Jeremy. And I actually gave an invitation to businesses that were within a small radius around where I live. I said, let me know, and I'll go do a video of us. I'll give you goldbacks for your merchandise, and we'll show off the process a little bit and make people kind of understand what's going on. So that invitation is still open to businesses that are on the West Coast that are within like a 50-mile radius from me. But Jeremy, I thank you very much. I don't want to take up any more of your time, although I probably could take all day with all the kinds of questions that
Oh
people.
no, you've got really great questions. I wasn't sure if this was gonna be like a 15 or 25-minute thing, but you've got great questions.
I appreciate it, and it's mostly questions that I see people, they ask all the time. And like I mentioned with the premium question, which I wanted to do right off the rip, people will still put in the comments right below, and they'll just put like the one little word, premium. And so
Premium, can't do it. Premium. I use dollars. I would never pay a premium on Goldbacks. I use dollars. I use Bitcoin. I'm not paying a premium on gold.
some
What's really fun is the people that argue like placer gold. You ever see one of these guys? They're like, oh, well, you'd never spend more than melt. I'm like, all right, what would you do then? Oh, I'd use placer gold and gold shot. Okay, so you got like a little baggie with placer gold, and we all got scales, and we're authenticating these things like it's like, I don't know, the Yukon Gold Rush or something. That's Bronze Age technology for trading, dude. Like really. And I know you don't do that. You use dollars, right? You use dollars. What's the floor on the dollar again?
some
I don't
people
know. It's like a lot of it's just so disingenuous. Like it's like to the point of silly. Like, oh, you just use silver, just use junk silver. It's like, dude, they discontinued junk silver in the 60s.
and
And junk silver gets junkier every year.
I was gonna end it, but that's a good point, right? Junk silver versus this stuff. My whole argument was junk silver's heavy. You know,
That's not the argument. I don't think that's the argument against junk silver. You can go on Alibaba or Temu and you can buy fake junk silver today that looks just like junk silver for nothing. And I would never accept junk silver and in 2011 I was a Ron Paul delegate and I would go to farmers markets and I'd buy things with junk silver. And the reason why people would take it from me is because they were mercury dimes. If they looked like the current design for the dime, they wouldn't take it because it'll get mixed up with my change. I don't, I sounded like some wizard, like this one's made out of silver and it's special and it has a higher value and, like it goes up because it's silver, it's just regular people weren't buying it. Regular people at farmers markets, the last one I went to, 90% acceptance rate for goldbacks. They didn't even care that they didn't understand precious metal. They saw the shiny goldback, they wanted it, they'd give you their products. I never got that kind of response with junk silver. And again, I wouldn't take junk silver from anybody now because it is being faked. It is being counterfeited on an industrial scale that it never has before. And you shouldn't accept junk silver either unless you have a Sigma machine on you. And most people don't. So, the counterfeiting feature, it's small enough, but it's not safe to use. It's very easy to counterfeit.
I actually have on my channel videos where I've shown fake mercury dimes,
Yeah.
counterfeit.
No,
And
you know.
So to fake a little tiny mercury dime, which has only got like a $3 to $4 price range right now, is just absolutely phenomenal that they would even do that. You know, it's crazy.
Well, hey, it's $3. I mean, they do it in mass. Coins are easy to produce in bulk.
Yep,
Lots of fake silver, lots of fake junk silver, and they look worn out. You know, I mean, they'll shake them around and they'll wear them out, and it looks like it. You know, and maybe you buy a bag of junk silver and a tenth of them are fakes, and you got to test every single little freaking dime. Um, you know, I don't want to mess with it. I don't know why anyone would want to mess with it, but it was the answer for hundreds, if not thousands of years to have small silver coins. But, you know, the Goldback is basically space age technology. It's vacuum deposition. It's fifth generation vacuum deposition technology. And we're adding, you know, the latest security features that central banks use in their products. And we're adding security features that they can't do because of the nature of the gold. We're building the most uncounterfeitable gold currency project in human history, and we're only making it better every year. Those counterfeiters are going to be pulling their hair out trying to figure out how to make a fake gold back. We're going to have holograms on these things. I mean, it's going to be it's really going a great direction.
that's really cool. The future's big. I'm a believer of it. You know, and I don't make any money off of you guys as far as advertising. You know, again, I'm just gonna disclose that. But Jeremy, I greatly appreciate you coming out here and trying to get some of those hard questions and some of the nagging questions that people have out there. In closing, do you want to say anything? Do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't think so. I think we've covered enough. You know, we've been at this for about an hour. I think I'm good. Um, on a separate note, you might want to break up this video into different sections.
But people that way they can
The
enjoy.
thought.
They don't just drone out. You know, to quickly.
Well, it might just be a long video, or you could do like a full length video and then take pieces, and you might just get a lot more content that way.
I'll make some shorts out of it. We'll get the best bang for your buck here for your time. I
Well,
promise.
I think it'd just be good for you. I mean, like, because people they look up specific questions about Goldback, and a lot of people type them into YouTube. And since these are all current questions, if you were to do a video or a short as a question that you just asked, what about the premiums on Goldback, or you know, um, what about Goldback wallets? You know, whatever your question was, you might just get a lot of hits, and you might get hits on those videos for years because people will still be interested in the answer to that question in 2 or 3 years from now.
Hey, it might be good for you too because you'd be like, you know what? I'm not wasting my breath. You know what I mean? I got
It's
to
evergreen
go
content.
here.
There's people that look up comparisons between junk silver and mercury dimes, and like there's just been a steady stream of traffic on that YouTube video for years and years and years because it's such a specific question, and a lot of people learn things on YouTube.
That's where I learn a lot of stuff. I mean, that's how
Right.
I watching.
It'll funnel new subscribers to you too if you become an authority on the subject.
Thank you, Jeremy, for your time. I appreciate it. If I got more questions, I'm gonna hit you up. I'm gonna
No,
right.
do it. I'm here to be a resource to you. Really, I want people to know these things. It's not supposed to be a big secret.
You're great, and I encourage everybody to go at least if they don't learn anything else, at least go to the website goldbacks.com and
Fullback.com.
Goldback, excuse me, goldback.com, and maybe you should get the Goldbacks too, just in case. You know, the .com.
You know what? I was going to. They're going to charge me like an arm and a leg for goldbacks.com, and I researched it. There's almost zero people going to goldbacks.com.
Well, they can't.
Well, there's almost zero people typing it in.
Oh, okay,
You can
yeah,
actually look up what organic web traffic for sites, and it's not there.
perfect,
Well, people aren't making that mistake. If they
good,
were, I'd pay for it, but they're not, so I won't.
good. All right, well, Jeremy, thank you again. I appreciate it, and everybody go check out goldback.com. And make sure if you're a business out there, you know, anywhere, right, in the United States, and you want to go ahead and accept Goldbacks, you go to goldback.com, and there's a place where you can sign up your business and, start accepting real sound money.
Great.
Well, hello, everybody. Jeremy, thank you so much.
I seek to educate
Thank you.
and entertain
Bye-bye.
through my journey of collecting coins and stacking precious metals. I encourage you to subscribe and please stay with me on this journey. I am Spegtacular, the Silver Stacular. You know, when I was a kid, we did this every day in school, and I believe we need to bring this back a little bit, and I'm going to start right now. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.